Here, of course, is the eye of Marion, played by Janet Leigh. The eye of Marion in the immediate aftermath of her murder by Norman Bates, dressed up like his mother. That Hitchcock lingers so long on the eye is, of course, significant. First of all, because this is very much a film about seeing, more so a film about watching. And the other time that we see an eye in close-up occurred some 5 minutes earlier in the film, where we see Norman looking through the hole in his wall. He removes a painting of Susanna from the Bible, who was raped. The elders of one of the Israeli tribes were watching her bathe, and they raped her. So you have a scene of voyeurism and sexual assault. And we see Norman engaging in the same action, but the fact that we see his eye close up soon after see Marion's eye close up really emphasizes a relationship between the two that has already been apparent. Strangely enough, these two characters are doubles for one another. Well, how so? When they are sitting and talking in the taxidermy room, they both share a sense of being in a prison. Of course, they both have great secrets that they don't tell one another, but we know that's another trait that binds the two of them together. Marion, of course, her secret is that she has stolen $40,000. Norman's secret is much more egregious. It is that he is the murderer, the murderer of several probably young women who have stayed in the Bates Motel. Add to this that even though Marion does transgress, even though she does steal the money, Hitchcock films her escape in such a way that we sympathize with her. The man from whom she steals the money is an overbearing, loutish, bullying drunk. The policeman who pulls her over is intimidating, unattractive, we might say, aloof. He hides behind his sunglasses. And the man from whom she buys a car is overtly sexist. So even though she's stolen the money, we see that she is victimized in her culture by men who want to exploit women in one way or another. Well, look at Norman. We know that he has been exploited probably by his mother. Of course, she's dead. And we can imagine he's been exploited by his dead father and by his stepfather. If anything, we feel most that he's exploited by his own mental illness. So he is as much a victim as he is a perpetrator. Now, Norman and Marion are unlikely doubles, but there are many other unlikely doubles in the film, too. The fact that Sam can fall in love with Marion and then after she dies seem to start falling in love with her sister Lila suggests that Lila and Marion are doubles. They're interchangeable. This tells us more about Sam than it tells us about Marion or Lila. Sam seems to be able to fall in love interchangeably with any sort of blonde-haired woman. So it's a comment on Sam's character. And as we see the film proceed, we have this moment where when Sam confronts Norman at the motel, the two are standing face to face. They both have black hair. They are almost the same height. They face each other. They don't look terribly unalike. And then, of course, we see Sam reflected in a mirror. This emphasizes the fact that they themselves might be doubles of one another. Why? Maybe they share an inability to sympathize or empathize with women. Certainly we know that that's true of Norman, since he can murder women as he does. But Sam himself may be just as callous in his own way. In fact, Sam also hides something, just as Norman does, just as Marion does. He hides the fact that he's having an affair with Marion. He has to meet her in secret hotel rooms. In fact, this is a film where many characters hide things. In the early scenes alone, we find that Marion's co-worker, played by Alfred Hitchcock's daughter, secretly takes tranquilizers on her wedding day. Now, we know that her boss secretly has a bottle of whiskey in his office. So it's a film where it's really hard to draw easy distinctions between different characters in terms of good, evil, black, white. So all those relationships I discussed in that other lecture between horizontal and vertical, black and white, they're undercut by the fact that characters themselves are not starkly opposed to one another, but tend to blend and blur into one another. So there's an irony to the dualism in the picture. It both distinguishes between good and evil, but also blurs good and evil at the same time, suggesting there is no person who is necessarily good or necessarily evil, but a blending of the two. Now, the final doubling I want to mention here is, of course, the doubling between Norman and his mother. He dresses up like his mother did. He becomes his mother. What kind of doubling is this? If we can see the other doublings as studies in the blurrings of characters, how it's difficult to tell the difference between characters in a complicated world, the doubling we see with Norman and his mother is something else. What is Norman but someone who does not like time? He does not like the flow of time. He lives in a kind of stasis, a stasis that allows him to feel control in a world in which he otherwise would feel totally out of control. The taxidermy, what is that? It's taking animals, living animals, and turning them basically into statues. And he dwells among these statues. He's in an artificial world where nothing changes. The family house. Nothing has changed in that house since Norman was a little boy. He walks into his room, he might as well be 4 years old again. Again, he's a character who likes the control that a static environment can suggest. Well, the fact that he keeps his mother alive through taxidermy is yet another example of this desire for the control that stasis can suggest. But moreover, the fact that he wants to be his mother, to bring his mother back to life, basically saying there's no such thing as death, there's no such thing as time, there's no such thing as growth and decay. This is the stasis of someone who hates time, because what is time to Norman but something that makes him feel insecure, that takes him out of his little cocoon, his little childlike womb. And the fact that he ends the film staring blankly and motionlessly into space is in some ways a perfect ending for his character. It might be exactly the kind of world that he would want. The world's so painful to him, if the only way that he escapes pain is through living among dead things that don't change, and he has made himself, by the end of the film, a taxidermied creature in his own right.